Mission Sports TV. This is the Locker Room. I'm Dave DeRocher, and I am joined by my buddy Tim Vizzy. Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm good, my brother. Always good to see you. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I like the Christmas holiday spirit coming up here now.
Yep, I got the lights out. We did the turkey, with mom and my aunt, and pretty mellow, but I got to have the turkey and gravy. So,
got to.
I don't know. I guess we haven't had a show without talking about COVID and what's going on. And, for us, we're large in stature, but we're small in numbers. So we were able to gather, and it wasn't much different or affecting us. But, all the things about having TV monitors around the table and all the craziness that's going on that families aren't able to get together. It's really kind of unfortunate, but, making the best of it as we can. Hey, so just so you know, got the bandwagon hat on, 12-0. I'm more of a 70s Steelers. I've always been a big Steelers fan, more of the 70s, era. But you can't argue with the fact of what they're doing out there. Playing some pretty good ball.
They are, but I think they're going down when they play in Buffalo.
When do they play in Buffalo?
They play in Buffalo, I think, in a week or two. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That I guess looking back, they really haven't played a whole lot of great teams.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm alluding to. I think they might lose. I think they might lose 2 of these next 4. Honestly, we'll see though.
So what you're saying is they have kind of a Patriot schedule.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic, boy. The question was, is it the system or is it Brady? Well, we'll never know because neither of them are doing well now. So maybe it's just the two together. Crazy sport.
It really is. I'm excited for this week's guest.
Yes. So Nate Chandler. I met Nate when I was doing a program for Vivian Landon. It was called Wired Right. It's a PE virtual curriculum for North Carolina, and had a few of us athletes out there, sharing stories with the kids for this platform and talking about physical ed. And I talked about bench pressing and squatting and lifting, and Nate was out there planking and doing young guy stuff. And we had a chance to talk and had so much in common. And I asked him to be on our show, and gosh, he really talks about being, versatile in athletics, which we don't hear a whole lot of anymore, being a 4-sport letterman in high school. And then how many positions did he play through college and then it ends up in the NFL, right?
Right. I mean, bouncing around, it just, shows you the type of athlete he really was.
Yeah. Well, but the willingness,
right?
How many guys do we see in sport today, or even young people that are asked to play a position that isn't their position, that isn't what they want to play, and they either reluctantly do it or don't do it, in earnest. And so, but Nate, tight end, defensive tackle, right guard, left tackle, special teams, whatever. He just wanted to be on the field. He's like, yeah, coach, I'll do it.
Right. And
he goes, coached himself right to the NFL,
Man.
That's a great message for young people to hear. It's like, if a coach comes to you and wants you on the field, go. Who cares what you're playing? Go get on that field.
Well, imagine him being in his shoes. I mean, at that time, that's gotta be a lot of adversity, right? And they always say adversity reveals your character. And he had a strong character. He had his dad in his corner and echoing the lessons that he had taught him over his life. And when you have that strong character, man, you can endure and you have that versatility and you make it. And that's exactly what happened with him.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine being at the NFL level, sitting on the sideline, watching everything, and then one guy goes down, the next guy goes down in a position you don't even play, and coach looks at you, go, young man, you're in. Get in at the NFL level. I mean, even if you're weeks prepared and that's your position that you've always played, to be tossed in, but to You're telling him, all right, Nate, go right, go left. And he ends up starting the rest of the season and given an award on a Super Bowl team. What, I mean, that doesn't get any better than that.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Just a testament, man. God just puts us in these situations and guides us, and it happens. It's powerful.
Yeah. So hey, that's so we kind of told you who our guest is going to be. I hope we didn't tell you too much about the interview, because, and okay. So here's two things I say every week. First, I apologize for saying this, and then I say, what a great guest! How blessed are we to be able to have so many great people on this show, to be able to share their story and bring value to young people and old people and coaches. I have friends going, oh my gosh, another great guest, another great guest. And speaking of guests, if you know somebody, especially young people, if there's any high school athletes out there that you think would be a great guest on our show, reach out to us. I mean, Tim tells you every week where you can find us. We are always looking for guests. And, it's great to talk to guys in the NFL or at the professional level. But we really have enjoyed speaking to our younger guests. We've had a few high school level athletes that were great guests on our show. And so reach out to us and let us know. Anyhow, here's our quick break. We'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back into the locker room. We are joined by our guest, Nate Chandler. Hey, Tim, will you introduce our guest, please?
Yes, Nate attended Mira Mesa High School, where he played 4 years of varsity sports, playing baseball, basketball, football, and track. He was ranked the 5th tight end in the nation coming out of high school, where he then go on to UCLA to play from 2007 to 2012. He played tight end, O-line, D-line, and special teams in his tenure there. He then went on to sign with the Carolina Panthers as the undrafted free agent, where he made the transition to O-line. He got injured, came back and made the active roster, and was named the Unsung Hero Award and was part of the NFC Championship team that went on to eventually play in the Super Bowl. Now he's living in San Diego, happily married with his wife and 2 kids. Welcome to the show, Nate Chandler.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Right on, Nate. Wow. So, okay, before we get started, and and just so you know, folks, I already warned him that he's a UCLA guy, and then I had to represent, because this
straight to it, man.
This has been a good 12 months for San Diego State against UCLA. We beat them for the first time in 15 tries. So I get it. The overall record, you got us trumped, but we won. And then we started off our basketball season beating number 22 UCLA, and State is now 3-0 to start off the basketball season. Maybe that's not the best way to start off an interview, but it is the locker room, so we get to give each other a hard time. Anyhow, hey, thanks for joining us, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting. It's an exciting year for last year was an exciting year for San Diego State, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do this year too.
You did not waste any time, my man. You jumped right as soon as Bo just hit it with it.
Well, it's something about these San Diego State guys that always have to rep their squad,
We have to, because we're not UCLA. UCLA, you don't have to. I mean, you've got that. I mean, you're playing in the Rose Bowl, for Pete's sake. So you've got that acumen, and we're just trying to find our little niche. So we got to take it when we got it. The cool thing is that when I mentioned it too before we went on, is that you pointed out to your pops jersey, who was an Aztec in the 70s under Don Coryell. I mean, that was so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. It was cool growing up too, because all the events that you guys have as alumni and stuff, I got to go. And when I was going into high school, and my first offer was to San Diego State. I think it was Chuck Long, Coach Long.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going up to his office and him offering me. But Yeah, unfortunately, fortunately, I chose up to go to LA. So
Yeah.
you know,
Well, you can't
yeah,
fault that. Can't fault that decision and that
yeah,
tradition. And hey, so we always have to start off, Nate, by having our guests share about growing up, sports, faith, how they played, if they played a role in your life. Obviously, sports did, and just kind of share,
right.
some stories of what it looked like growing up for you.
So I started playing sports at 4. I began playing football, or not football. I didn't become playing, or I didn't start playing football until 10th grade. So I started off playing baseball. So my dad really loved baseball. So me and my brother were always at the baseball fields. And I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player when I grew up, but it didn't actually work out that way. I started, getting big and started playing basketball, and everyone was saying I should play football. But my memories as a child, especially from 4 to, let's say, middle school, have been on the baseball field. I started playing basketball, I'd say probably about 12 years old, 11 years old. Played basketball, really enjoyed basketball. Played at the Mira Mesa Rec Center. It was something that kept me in shape, something that kept me going. Me and my friends got to go and play. My dad loved watching me play. It was just a fun way. It was something that, for me, I always liked being out with my friends, and sports brought that part, that camaraderie into my life, staying off the streets and out of trouble. And that's something my dad really focused on as a kid, was to keep me active and not stagnant inside the house or off, creating mischief out in the streets. But yeah, so it was baseball and basketball as a child, and then I got to high school, and I was 6'4" in middle school.
Wow.
I would say 190, maybe 200, dripping wet. And everyone, all the coaches were just telling me, you need to play football. And I know Ray Rowe. He was my tight end coach, and Chris Thompson. They were on me every day talking about playing football, and I finally decided to do that in my sophomore year of high school. So
how did that go? How did that go down when they saw you? When they saw you on campus, were they, every time they caught you, they were telling you, bugging you about it, or what?
Yeah. So what's funny is my dad coached Pop Warner with some of the guys out here, Rick Sharp and Chris Thompson and all these guys in San Diego. He coached for my brother's team, and when my brother would go to practice, I would go with him. And I was a young kid, and Chris Thompson, who was the coach at Mira Mesa when I played, saw me as a young kid and told my dad that he's going to be playing football when he's older. And I would do the drills and do all this stuff, and I loved it. So he's known me since a little kid, and he would see me around at my brother's baseball games. My brother's 5 years older than me. And he would come talk to my dad, and he would just talk about how how my dad needs to let me play football. And my dad didn't want me to play football, especially at a young age. He wanted me to make that decision when I'm older. But yeah, it was never a time where we saw Coach Thompson where he wasn't talking about me playing football. So it was, and then on campus when I was a freshman, so when are you going to sign up? When are you going to come play out? Or when are you going to come out here? And when I did, they immediately pulled me up to varsity. It's funny. The first time we had pads, I put them on backwards. I didn't know any of the positions. Like I said, I wasn't a diehard football fan. Like I just liked playing the sports, and it turned out to really benefit me. And Coach Thompson and Coach Rowe did a great job developing me into the player and the student that I became.
So Tim, first of all, this is a very passive aggressive dig that Nate just gave on me, because Ray Rowe. Yeah. So Ray Rowe was younger than me, and he coached him in high school. So that's all. All right, old man. Here, right back at you. Oh, I see you. All right. Hey, I had the exact same experience. I didn't play until I was a freshman in high school because I was too big. I would have
Yeah.
aged up, so I played soccer, but I wasn't very good, and I wasn't going to play. And the football coach came up to me and said, "Hey, big guy, you going to play football for me?" And a new coach, and I said, "No, I'm playing basketball." And he's like, "Why?" I go, "Because I'm not very good." And and Tim's heard the story. I go out there, and after about 3 days, he pulls me aside. He goes, "Young man, you're not very good." And so I'm like, "Good, thanks, bud." But he stuck with me, and he gave me the
Right.
tools and the confidence, and then of course, kind of went on to do a couple of things.
Yeah.
But it was that coach, right? The coach has come up and given you that, hey, young man, come out, come out and do this, and
Right.
so it's amazing the role that coaches can play in a young man's life or a young woman's life just by being that inspiration, that confidence building, that caring enough to work with somebody and encourage them to do something, because
Yeah.
it's in the young person's best interest to, you never know what's going to happen. But so what about faith? Was your family, did you grow up going to church or?
So yeah, so we were a family that kind of just went to the Easter services growing up, and then when I was in high school, my father's parents, my grandpa passed away first, and then my grandma shortly after, and after that happened, it kind of struck a string with my dad. So, little backstory: my dad grew up in the church. His dad was a pastor. His mom was a deacon. Church 4 or 5 times a week, and that kind of drew him off and kind of pushed him away from the church. But when they passed away, he recommitted himself. And we started going to church out here in San Diego. And that's when I really learned about who Jesus was, what the gospel was all about. And not only that, but the transformation I saw in my father. We had a really tight relationship. And so when he started going to church and I would go with him, he would serve, pass out, simple stuff, flyers, pick up coffee, stuff like that for the church. And I did everything with him. And, just being in that community at let's say it was when I was a freshman in high school, was great because my dad found out that he had cancer. And also it was just like when I saw my dad had quite of a drinking problem. He would drink and all that stuff growing up. I didn't really see much of it when I was a kid, but now as I am a father, I see the effects that it can have on your family. But when he rededicated himself, he stopped drinking, so he was sober for the last 5 years of his life. And then when I saw him battling cancer for the last couple of years of his life, it just showed me what faith can really do. I wasn't. I wouldn't say like I always believed in God, but I just felt it more so when I saw my dad going through it because he was my biggest role model. But when he passed away, it's kind of when I fell away as well. Got real angry, and he was my best friend, so it was really hard to deal with that. And I wasn't rooted. I was just getting the good news. And then I wasn't really rooted as a kid, you know what I mean? So I went off to college. My dad passed away in January 2007. So I was going to college in June of 2007. So still pretty fresh. I went out there and didn't really surround myself with fellow Christians or brothers in Christ. And that kind of took me down a different path. I wouldn't say it was like I went so far away that I was just the point of no return. I still always believed and prayed to God and my sister was praying for me throughout the whole process. And, you know, it was a tough, rocky ride, but now I see why, you know, I went through all of that, and to see how I came through it and have grown, and how I built the character, and, you know, how I can help others get closer to God. And like you're talking about a coach is, you know, everyone, having a coach for a sport is very important. If someone's going to stick with you, but I also believe, like, in life, it's also good to have people in your life that can feed into you, you know, and that you can go to, because at that point when my father died, I felt alone. You know, I felt like no one was around. So, just going through what I've gone through, I feel like I can pay it forward to maybe kids or even acquaintances that go through loss and stuff, especially in the times we're in now. So, but yeah, so faith really kick-started when I was in 8th or 9th grade, and then took a back seat when my dad died. And then now it's ramped back up ever since I got out of the NFL.
Man, well, just first of all, I know how tough it is losing someone close to you. So, man, just
Yeah.
I feel for you in that. I feel for you, and just knowing that God's always close. You know, that we do go through these things, and when we look back, you know, our hindsight is 2020, where we could have that understanding. But when you're in the mix and in the moment, it's really tough to understand. For a lot of our people going through college, though, that seems like a spot where, you know, things fall off and the temptation is there.
Right.
Did you have anyone, a coach or anyone that kind of held you close? I know you said your sister was praying for you. I mean, there's so much power in prayer just in that alone. But was there anybody that kind of to reeled you back in and make sure you know, stayed diligent and on top of your stuff, and, you know, you turned out to make it into the league? That doesn't just happen by chance.
Right. There was no true like mentor, or there was no one like my dad. You know, growing up, my dad kept me straight. He made sure I wasn't out drinking, smoking, any of that stuff. And even though he was gone, I feel like he was still with me. And I just remembered all the things that he taught me as a kid. So I believe my father's presence growing up really kept me on somewhat of a straight path to get to where I got, because I have my brother, but he dealt with his stuff too. Like, my dad and my brother's relationship was different than mine. I'm the baby of the family. So he went through his own struggles as well. But there was no one that really was like, I wouldn't say that I had a mentor or a father figure in my life during that time. Yeah. I wish I did, but at the same time, I'm glad that I had to go through what I went through, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And also too, I just think that everything does happen for a reason. And you know, I was in a dark place in my life, just like anyone who loses someone. I wish there was someone who was like that I can talk to, like, you know, who would have been there through the whole time. But at the same time, I wasn't really searching for that person. It was tough. But I think all the lessons and talks that I had with my father stayed with me, and that's what kept me pushing. Even when I knew I was slipping a little bit, I knew I had to straighten up. And I wasn't perfect in college. I don't think any of us were. But at the same time, I always knew that he was watching every time I took the field, every time I took the test, all the things that kept me eligible, got me through UCLA, got my degree, stuff like that. It was because my dad was in the back of my mind, and leading on into the NFL as well.
So, you know, the stories and those things that you've mentioned a few times now, and that is, you know, life lessons, and that when you look back, as you went through those trials, tribulations for a reason. It's
Right.
not always apparent when you're going through it, but when you look back and see as to why. And now the next step is to then take those lessons and help somebody with them. And when
Right.
you get to be 56 like me, that's the stage I'm in. And it's like if we don't go back and help somebody through it with those experiences, then we didn't really learn enough. Or it's
Right.
that's the purpose. So it's good that you acknowledge that now, and that and as we get our camps going, we're going to get you out there and talking to the kids,
Yeah.
and yeah, and being around young people that are just starving for that. It's so
Right.
much fun to be around. But so gotta bring up you then do the thing at UCLA, played 18 different positions. Whatever. I mean, you kind of played all over. I did the same thing. I
Right.
played a little bit of defensive line. I played tight end for about 4 days until I went to make a catch over the middle, and I got racked by a 240-pound linebacker in the ribs, and I couldn't catch anything after that. So I was done. I'm like, no thanks. I'm good. Just stick me at tackle.
Yeah.
But when you go on to the Panthers, one of the pictures you sent us was
Mhm.
Cam behind you. What's it like walking into a huddle and your quarterback's bigger than you?
Man, I was just thinking about that too. It was just being in that huddle and with those group of guys. It was really surreal, man. Like, I didn't realize it at the time, but as I look back, I'm just like, man, that was really me in there with, Cam's a great quarterback. He's a great guy as well. But it's just such an honor to be someone who wasn't supposed to be there, who everyone was counting out, just to be with Ryan Khalil, Pro Bowler, Travell Wharton, Jordan Gross, all those guys. To be in the same huddle as them, I get chills thinking about it. Was just such an honor. Like 10 years, just the best of the best in that huddle, and it was just a blessing from God, man. I couldn't sit here and tell you that I was going to be in that huddle. I couldn't sit here and tell you that I was going to be, playing offensive guard at that, and it's just like, as I look at it, at the time, I didn't realize what was going on. And now as I look back at the bigger picture, I just see God in everything that happened. And it wasn't me, I put in work, but at the same time, God put everything in place, so it was awesome, especially, like you said, Cam, that guy, he's a monster. He's a specimen, honestly. The guy is huge. He's a big dude. He's a big boy.
Well, man, you've been in all these situations where you had to battle, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us. You got injured. You came back. You won something called the Unsung Hero Award. Talk to us more about that.
All right. So, like I said, my first year, I made it on the practice squad. So I was on the practice squad for 6 weeks. Then I got activated. Guys pulled their hammies, and I was the next guy up. Played that whole season, the rest of the season as a D lineman. But as I was playing on the D lineman, or as a D lineman, I was also doing offensive scout. Mm-hmm. So I was doing the D scout, offensive scout, and then first team reps as well. And the O-line coach saw me at offensive tackle, and I had some experience at tackle, so I kind of knew what I was doing. And all the O-line coaches were like, "Yeah, he's got to play. He's got to come over to the D-line called it the dark side." But yeah. But yeah, so that season passed. We didn't do too well. They drafted 2 guys, Starlo Tulele out of Utah, and then Kawan Short, first and second rounders. And Ron Rivera pulled me into the office and said, "Nate, we don't see a place for you on the D line this year, but we do think there's an opportunity for you on the O line." And being used to changing positions, I didn't blink, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." made it as a backup left tackle. 6 weeks goes by, and I'm the backup left tackle. I'm smiling. I'm not really playing. I'm just looking at everybody else. And then we're in the Atlanta game, and a guard goes down, blows his knee, and then another guard goes in, and he gets hurt. So when I saw him when I saw him get hurt, I was like this. I was looking around, and Coach Masco, he's looking straight at me. Get in there. And I was, oh my God, my heart dropped. I get in there. I'm like, oh, all right. I had Ryan Cleel next to me, and he's telling me everything to do. You know, I honestly, don't. I went in there and just did what I could and did what I knew. And I made sure I wasn't trying to think too much. If Ryan told me to go right, I was going to run as fast as I can right, stuff like that. But anyways, we went and won that game. And I finished out the year starting 11 games at right guard. My first start was in Candlestick Park out in San Francisco. We beat them. It was a close game. I don't know if it was nerves or food poisoning, but I was up all night throwing up, had like a fever, all that stuff.
Nerves.
And yeah. I was like, Coach, I'm sick. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, I think you're just nervous. Threw up all over the place before going out, but ended up having a good game. So yeah, after that season, we won the NFC South division, and in the paper they give out awards and stuff. And I was me and Travell Wharton were the unsung heroes of the year. So, and then after that, I signed a little contract extension, and yeah, it was like I said, would have never called that.
What I love about the message, and once again towards the young kids, when you're being asked to do something, it's amazing when the third string quarterback, for a high school team, just said, son, you're not going to play. We want you to play receiver. Yeah. Well, I want to play quarterback. Right. You could start at receiver.
Right.
We need you on the field because of your athletic ability, but you're just not going to start at quarterback. And the kids, are reluctant to do that. And for you to, you didn't have much of a choice.
Right.
You're up, Nate. Yeah. But you embraced, the defensive tackle, where a lot of pros would say, no, I'm a defensive tackle, then trade me. Cut me. I'll go to their team and do it. And I do have to say this. When you mentioned Ron Rivera, Ron was my chaperone for when I took my trip to Cal. He was outside linebacker at Cal, and he was my host, and took me around. And I won't share the stories of that weekend. It was fun. and Ron was, gosh, he went on to be a great guy and much success coaching. So
he's honestly, he's such a great coach. And from the day I got in there, he saw something in me, and they saw how I worked, and he really appreciated that, and that's why I feel like he gave me that opportunity. But if it wasn't for Ron Rivera, I don't think that, I just think everything was put into place, and having Ron Rivera as a head coach, man, to be able to play for a guy like him was such an honor as well. Like, he is truly a great players coach, and he cares about his guys. So it was really a really cool experience.
So what would you say to young athletes today? We see, unfortunately, through the NFL and the professional levels, not always the best examples today. It's unfortunate but true. But what is some advice you would give to young athletes today, or young kids?
Yeah. Well, as cliche as it sounds, it's just always work hard, and I work with students now for the fire program down at Miramar, one of the city colleges, and I tell them, no one's going to get mad if you make a mistake full speed. If you're going as hard as you can, that it just shows your work ethic and determination to get things right. But for me, I really I really harp on, especially when I was coaching in high school, is just hard work, and then building relationships within your teammates and even your coaches too. Finding those relationships and finding people who want to get better. And I'm not talking just about the sport aspect, but in life, some people that you can call your friends 20 years from now. Just really do your due diligence in trying to find those people, and surround yourself with like-minded people. So my father, when I was a kid, he told me to stay away from trouble, and that's something that I would say to the kids, especially in the days that we're in right now. It is so easy to be distracted and fall into temptation. So I really do think that this time especially we as mentors, and then also the kids, need to understand that their future as an athlete and their future as a student really depends on how they come out of this. Are you working out right now, or are you sitting on the couch? Are you studying your books, or are you just putting it off until next week? So my thing is, I would just let them know to be diligent and working hard and making the best effort to be the best version of themselves going into college and whatever career path that they choose down the road, if not sports.
Man, well, absolutely crushed it, brother. Thank you so much for sharing this message.
Yeah.
Just through everything, there were so many question marks, it felt like, but you just had an unwavering faith where, you just stepped forward. You had the courage to go that extra step, and leaning on the people and leaning on your dad and hearing his voice through everything, what he would say. I feel that same way about one of my best friends I lost. I hear his voice echoing all the time in situations, and it's powerful, man, when you lead with that. And now what you're doing, giving back and doing public service and helping these younger people out. I mean, in an influencer society, like you said, that we live in right now, careful who you're influenced by. You got to surround yourself with the right people to make sure you're staying on track towards success, man. So thank you.
100%. Yeah. Thanks for having me. That you hit it right on the head with that one.
So Nate, do you have a YouTube or social media way for people to reach out?
No. I kind of took it back, put social media away for a little bit, just because it's it can be, like I said, just as distracting as all the stuff going on. So I do plan on, I want to start a podcast one of these days, but I'm really praying about it and waiting for God to move, and doing my due diligence. And I want to make sure it's a God thing and it's not just a me thing. So in the future, I do believe that, I want to have podcasts and maybe a YouTube channel and stuff, given, being that person to kids that I might not be able to meet, so, but yeah, no social media for me.
Very good. Well,
maybe in the future.
We'll keep you in the family, and we'll tag on you again as a resource. Like I said, once we get our camps going, and I have a lot of brothers and guys I, of course, played with, down in San Diego, J.R. Tolver, which we talked about, and some other guys.
Yep.
But as we get our camps going, we'll tag you into the loop and have you work with our kids, because it'd be an honor to have you there.
Yeah.
Tim, tell everybody, Tim, where they can find us. This is what Tim does.
Yes. On YouTube, we're at Mission Sports Network, Mission Sports TV. Check that. On Instagram and on Facebook, we're at Mission Sports Network. So yeah, give us a follow, comment on this. We want to have an open conversation with you guys. This is the locker room. We're all about building community. We are, we're here to help each other on our own individual journeys. So reach out. We're looking forward to hearing from you guys.
Yep. All right, Nate. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate you. It's been great meeting you. I'm sure, like I said, our paths will cross again. For all of you,
Definitely.
We'll be back next week. I think our next guest is Don Horn, our first round draft pick to the Lombardi Packers, way back in the day. Former Aztec, just got to say it. But so looking forward to having him as a guest. Hey, be good teammates. Love and respect each other. We'll see you next time.